Coaching Soccer Weekly, episode 364 The Power of Failure. Entertaining, educational, and inspiring soccer content to help make you a more effective coach, player, or soccer parent. Hello, and welcome back to Coaching Soccer Weekly, presented by World Class Coaching. My name is Sergey Verbinovich, and this is the podcast devoted to bringing you cutting-edge methods, techniques, and tactics for coaching soccer. It doesn't matter if you're an experienced coach who has been training teams for many years, or if you're new to coaching and working with a team for the very first time. There's something we can all do to take our coaching to the next level. Welcome back to the show. I'm excited to talk about this week's topic, which is failure, something I love to talk about. And I'm really excited to also give you a little bit of insight onto what we did this weekend within our games. We had 3 games this week. Our 2013s and 12s played on Saturday as one game, and then our 2014s played on Sunday as one game, and then our 2011s and 12s on Sunday played another game. I was only at the 2014 on Sunday and the 2013-2012 game, so it was a really interesting weekend. I decided that I really wanted to try and see what our teams would look like in outdoor. So I divided the teams into really 2 groups and played what will be the A team in one group and then the B team in the other group. I did that mainly with the Saturday game because the Sunday 2014 games, we don't have enough players to do that. So it was really the Saturday game. But I did keep some players on in certain positions in 2014, again, just to kind of see what that would look like, just to see if we can really compete at the level that I think we can. And after watching what happened, I really do think that we can compete. When I had kind of that A-team line, we were very competitive. Now, we didn't win the game or anything like that or even come close, but I could see what was happening with that A line and how the players were really combining the way that we work on in practice, and it was just at a really high level. So I was really happy with the way this weekend went. Now, after the games were over, we did our Monday VO meeting. And it's just so much better to know in the back of your head during the game that you'll be able to go back and watch what was going on so that you could really analyze and see what the real problems were. Because I don't think you can focus on 2 things at once. And that's just the power of VO. So during that meeting, there were 3 things really that I found from watching the games back. First, we weren't scanning on defense. We didn't scan for our defenders, which ended up in a lot of goals that could be prevented. 2, our first touch wasn't into space. We would scan to find space, but if your first touch doesn't take you into space, it's really just kind of getting half of what you could from scanning. Right? The whole idea to scan is to find space, and if your first touch doesn't take you there, then you're not really getting the most out of it. The third thing is our center defensive mid getting the ball. So what would happen a lot of the time was that we want our center mid to break lines, and the way they do that is they go behind the other team's center midfielder, but a lot of the time the passing lane was just cut, so they weren't able to get the ball. So the way to remedy that, and which is something that we worked on this week, was if there is no passing lane and the center defensive mid is starting behind the defender, then they should make that support run to, I would say, in between the 2 defenders. So you see this a lot with Manchester City, with the defensive mid dropping into kind of like the defensive line. I don't want to go that far, but essentially what I want is I want the eyes of the defender to go back on our center defensive mid and to drag him out of that space. So the way to do that You start behind, the defender has the ball, then drop, ask for the ball from the defender. Within one touch after you scan, you switch the ball to the other side. As you're doing that, the ball's coming to you, so the defender, the other team's defender, which is actually probably their forward player or even their center defensive mid, depending on how they're pressing, they would come towards you, which opens the space behind. Once you switch that ball, since you got the player to drop in, then you can lose your defender and receive it in that space. And this is just a simple kind of rondo that we speak about, right? Support, then lose your defender. So those are the three concepts that we got simply because of watching VO, right? These aren't things that you can pick up in the game because there's so much going on, especially if you don't have an assistant with you. You have to manage, right, playing time. You're watching kind of the other teams for weaknesses. Is kind of what are they doing? So it's really important to be able to watch these games back. And if you're looking for a VO, we have a $200 off, and we want to thank VO for sponsoring the show. Now I have a question for you. Are you a coach that lives in Toronto or near Toronto and looking for change? If so, Gladiator Soccer Academy, we are hiring. So if you're listening to this and you are in Toronto or in the GTA and are looking to coach with us, we are definitely looking for people. We do not do people from abroad or anything like that. We're looking for coaches who are already local. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can, send me a message on Instagram, on the Facebook group. You can just kind of click on it and send me a message there and let me know you're interested. And yeah, we can kind of go from there. So that's something really exciting. And that's all with that. Today I want to talk about a topic that's really important to me because it's something that I think everyone experiences. And more importantly, it's the reason that my academy has become as successful as it has. I want to talk about failure today, but specifically in a way that it relates to soccer. I think most people try and really shy away from failure. And I want to tell you a little story about why I am where I am right now. About 6 years ago, well, 7 years ago, well, no, six years ago, I was a graduate. I graduated from college here. I did my second undergrad in construction management. And right out of school, I got a job at one of the top construction management firms here in Toronto. They do things like McDonald's, Starbucks, Nordstrom. So they're a very well known and popular place to work. And, I got a great job right out of the bat. When I was doing that, first of all, I had to quit coaching. So I was coaching before that throughout kind of my college career. And as soon as I got into it, it was just too much. It was, 9 to 5. And then from there, straight to soccer. And then I wouldn't be home till 9. So it was just a lot for me. And I had to quit that. And then I just missed coaching so much that I opened a free Sunday program behind my parents' house just because I missed it. I wanted to bring in the community and just kind of have it so if kids wanted to play, they could come, they could play for free. About 6 months in, I got fired from that job. And I'll never forget the drive home after I was fired, which is, to me, one of the biggest failures that people can think of, that it just didn't work out and someone told you you weren't good enough. At that point on the drive home, I think a lot of people would have been sad. They would have been disappointed. I was none of those things. I was pissed off. I was pissed off because I thought that I was getting better. And that didn't really matter, how I felt from, their point of view. But the attitude that I got from it, and this is the attitude that I gained from doing these 1v1s that I did at Andy, which was constant failure. And whenever you fail, just get back up and keep going. It was that attitude that sparked. It was a huge loss, just like I had experienced thousands of times while going through these 1v1s. And rather than feeling sorry for myself, in that car on the way home, I said the following words out loud: I will never have a boss again, and I will never have anyone tell me that I'm not good enough. And that is the sole reason why I have my academy today. Now, if you believe in alternate realities and all these different, concepts and all this, I'm sure there is a Segev in one of those worlds that didn't end up moving to Kansas and didn't end up going through the failures and during the soccer of losing games all the time, losing 1v1 battles all the time, and having to pick themselves up. And that version of the Segev drove home that day and was sad. He wasn't ready to fail. It wasn't something he constantly experienced. He didn't know how to bounce back from that because all he was used to was success. Because growing up, because he didn't move to Kansas, he continued to be the best player on every team that he played on. He continued to easily make any team that he wanted to without really struggling for anything. Because growing up, soccer was his life, just like it was mine. The difference was the constant failure that I experienced when I played in Kansas. Failure and how to handle failure is one of the most important lessons that we can learn growing up. Because when we're set off into university, college, and after that, we don't have much help. It's not the same as when we were kids, when our parents were around to kind of say, it's okay, don't worry. No, you are by yourself in those moments. When you get your first F in university, how do you react to that when your parents aren't around? When you're offered, a beer in university or alcohol or something like that, and you have to have the strength to say no. How do you handle that? Constantly getting rejected, going out for jobs and opportunities and doing interviews and all these rejections that you're constantly experiencing in life. How do you handle that? Well, if you grew up in an environment that was always win, no matter what, always success, everything was easy, you're in trouble. Life is going to be trouble. And I've met those people, and you have too. Those are the people that, in those types of situations, they get angry and they blame other people and they don't take responsibility. And if you end up being that type of person, life is going to be hard. The reason I am so successful at what I do isn't because I'm the best coach, isn't because I'm the best in business. That's not it at all. It's because every single challenge that I face, I know that I'm going to go at it with everything that I have. And if I fail, it's okay. I failed a million times. But I'm going to pick myself back up and try again and keep trying. Just like when I was a kid, trying the Maradona 1,000 times, continuously failing, continuously trying without ever stopping. So that's a quick story. I don't know how quick that was. I think that was like 6-7 minutes, so maybe not so quick. But that's the introduction to really what I want to focus on today. When it comes to soccer, and I talk about this all the time, it's a game. It's just a game. For me, my passion, I am so unbelievably passionate about soccer. But I am passionate about soccer as a vehicle to teach players life lessons. That is what I care about. It's a game. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. It doesn't. It's a game. But how you handle that matters. So let's talk about some of the things that are good about losing. Because we look at losing as such a negative, and it's not. It's an opportunity to the point where 2014s won every single game for the first half of this season, and I was upset. I was upset because I knew that was not going to be their career moving forward. I knew that next year we are going to lose because it'll be their first time, our academy's first time in Tier 1. And if I've learned anything, is that whenever we move up a tier, we are very humbled right away. So I did not want them going in with all the success in the world, on a high, never facing adversity. That makes no sense at all. So what did I do? I asked the league to bump us up, and we have not won a game since. And I'm okay with that. I am 100% okay with that. Because now we can start to talk about things. We can start to talk about and challenge, even at 9 years old, the player's resilience, problem solving, growth mindset, humility, innovation, persistence, self-reflection. These are so many aspects of the game that we don't look at because most people look at coaching and soccer as just a game. It is not. It is a vehicle to teach lessons. Building resilience. Building resilience is the ability to learn how to handle failure. And that, in its essence, creates mental toughness, which by the time kids are 11, 12, 13, and have gone through this since they were 5 years old, is one of the most important skills for life. One of our players left this year. He went to go play for another team, another club, whose sole focus is winning. You know, when I speak to that parent, they talk about winning. He came to one of our camps, our March break camp. I put him on a team with 2 younger players who I knew would get him to struggle a little bit, just to kind of see the mental resilience that he had now, because he's left us for a while. And I just kind of wanted to compare with one of our players who consistently has stayed with us. After 2 games of losing, he started to cry. The player who has stuck with us, at the end of that day, I put him against a player who was 2 years older, who was a very beginner when it came to soccer, but would just tackle. Like, he would just hurt players. Our player fell down 6, 7 times, every time with a smile on his face, right back up, didn't even look at me. He looked at me twice and started laughing. That is mental resilience. That is how we build resilience, and the way that we do that is through failure and introducing that in our one-on-one environment. Now, why is that so important, that one-on-one environment? And if you're new, the one-on-one environment, which I learned, and I'll always give credit, I have no problem with that, with Andy, who has an amazing podcast as well, Coaching Outside the Box or Inside the Box. I think it's Coaching Inside the Box. Everyone plays at the same time. You partner players up, and they have to do a move before you score. Everyone plays at the same time, small environment. The reason that is so great is because players are constantly failing, but they don't have any time to think about that failure. They have to move on to the next thing. They have to, because if they don't, then they're just going to get scored on. They don't have time. It's just them against someone else. As soon as you lose the ball, you have to defend. If you don't, you get scored on, period. So mental resilience, mental toughness is a huge part of that 1v1. Developing problem-solving skills. That's another part. Failure can provide an opportunity to analyze what went wrong. And when you take that, you start to develop problem-solving skills. Why? Because you're going to want to avoid making the same mistake. So if you try something and it doesn't work 20 times, let's say you're trying that Maradona, it's not working 20 times. You're going to try and tweak it and make it so it works. And what's great about kids is they're excellent problem solvers if you put them in the right situation. And when you're in that moment of failure, and you have no choice but to keep going, no choice. Let's put ourselves in that child's mind for a second. They've played 5 rounds of 1v1s. They haven't pulled off a single fake shot Maradona correctly. Every single time they've tried it, they have failed. And now they're going up again. And at that moment, the child goes, I can't do this again. I can't go out and fail like I have been. They don't have a choice. They're going out, they're playing 1v1. And at that moment, what you're encouraging is risk-taking. They are now going to go out and start to look for something different. The fear of failure can hold people back from taking risks. But when you're in that moment, in that fearful moment, in that moment that you've dreaded for so long, you have to find a different way. You have to find a creative new way to beat that challenge, because you know, hey, I'm going to keep doing this. We do this every session, so I need to find a way to win. That's what's going through the child's mind without even understanding that they're constantly failing. And what that encourages is innovation. Innovation requires risk and to be willing to fail. And to learn how to fail can be a valuable skill for creativity and that innovation, right? So what is it about that Maradona that's not working? Well, if I lose the ball before I'm even getting into that Maradona, what does that mean? It probably means my first touch is completely wrong. So our job as coaches is every single break after that 1v1 is we go over the same move. We go over defending so that at a certain point, a child is going to go, it's not working. I need to pay attention even more to those little tiny details. And we go through those details. They're going to go, where am I losing that ball? Am I losing it right at the beginning? Am I losing it in the middle? Am I losing it? Am I not getting a shot up? What's going on? And that child that's losing every single game is the one that's paying attention, because they're going back out there. And what does that encourage? Well, that encourages self-reflection, right? A chance to reflect on personal strengths and weaknesses and identify these areas where you can improve. These are the qualities, these are the things that as coaches we should be trying to encourage within our players. When I coach in the games, I have nothing to say when we score. Nothing, usually. Sometimes I'll say, I'll praise a child for scoring. But scoring, you're at the happiest you've ever been. How are you when we're at our worst? What kind of person are you at the lowest point? Do you have that resilience, that mental toughness to say, we're losing, but we got to keep going? Our players have been through losing more than any other club, more than any other academy. That is a guarantee. And I know that by the time they're 14, 15, 16, going down 1-0 doesn't matter. If we are down 3-0, it doesn't matter. They will never, ever stop. They will fight till the end. And that is something everyone, not just soccer players, everyone in the world wants, to be able to fight until the end. That's a quality of someone very impressive. Well, as you know, I absolutely am obsessed with soccer, but there's something else that I'm obsessed with, and it is business. So I decided to start a newsletter, and I'm going to be talking about, it's pretty much the same as this, but all in writing, and just everything that I'm doing with regards to business. And it's more books that I'm reading and information that I'm gathering from books that are just game changers. Just like I do an insane amount of research with this, I also read a lot of books and listen to a lot of books in the car rides from practice, and that's something that I really love to do, and they're all about business. So I wanted to every other week, so it'll be bi-monthly, I guess. It'll be every couple of weeks. I'll send out the newsletter, and it'll be just information that I'm gathering for just business. Everything that I'm learning will go into it, and I'm really excited for it. There's a lot of really good stuff that I want to share when it comes to the business part, not just the soccer part. So super excited for that, and all the proceeds will go back to the show. I'm still trying to figure out the microphone and all that, so if you want to help support me in that way, that would be great. Again, it's not something that you have to do or anything, but if you're interested in business, I think that you'll get a lot of value from the newsletter. So it's all in the show notes. The link is there, as well as the VO link. So yeah, hopefully that's something that you enjoy as well. Thanks for listening to another episode of Coaching Soccer Weekly. I want to start by saying you're the best, you're awesome, and thank you so much for listening to the show and continuing to be on this journey with me. Next year, there is something crazy happening, and I'm so excited for it. It's going to be a complete change, and it's going to impact the show in such a positive way. So stay tuned for that announcement. I'm not sure when I'll make that announcement, when I'm allowed to. Things are still in the works. It's definitely happening, but I'm just not sure if I can announce it yet. So stay tuned for that. Next week, I'll be back. We have 3 games this weekend, so I'll talk about those, along with a new concept for the show. So until next week, and until we meet again, enjoy the journey, enjoy the moments, but most importantly, enjoy the game. Coaching Soccer Weekly is a production of World Class Coaching. All rights reserved.
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end, and you can check out more of our videos right here. And if you haven't done so already, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and the subscribe button.